peeps, it's Candy, and we're here with our second episode of Nostalgia, a good movie. And I decided to go with a movie I've seen a lot of like TikTok fan edits on. Which, by the way, I have a TikTok. You should go follow it. I'll put the @ over here somewhere. I post regularly on it, and sometimes we'll post behind the scenes of my YouTube videos. So if that sounds interesting, go follow it. Side tangent aside, specifically TikTok's like fan edits and like thirsts are over this flea and our singer. So let's get into it. Our movie is A Monster in Paris, which came out in 2011 and was directed by, now forgive me if I say this wrong, Bebo Bergeron. Forgive me for butchering his last name if I did. He came out actually with a lot of movies. I'm going to put a little thing right here of a lot of movies that he had a hand in. But two notable ones to me were Flushed Away and B-Movie. And a lot more of some of my favorite movies he had a hand in. But without further ado, let's get into the movie.
Hey peeps, Editing Candy here, and I just wanted to take a moment to say sorry for the lack of energy in this week's video and for the amount of time it took to get out. I've had a lot of issues with my physical health lately. I have some conditions. I'm not gonna discuss them here on YouTube because people love to tell other people that their conditions are fake. But I appreciate your guys' patience with me. I'm absolutely doing my best, and as you can see, I actually got really excited with the editing for this video. So I appreciate you guys watching it. I also wanted to take a second to let you guys know that I've been streaming on Twitch a lot lately. I've been streaming Overwatch and a Match 3 game because I'm like a god at those. If you don't believe me, come watch my streams. And I'll put my username somewhere right on the screen here. But here is a clip from last night's stream. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along, and go check out my Twitch. Peace. Alright.
We revert to very fundamental
Nice. Absolutely beautiful.
So, we open in a theater watching a black and white movie with, like, real people, which kind of confused me at first because I thought this was an animated movie, but then we very quickly switch back to an animated scene where we are introduced to Emile and Maud, who are, like, running through a zoo talking about how in love they are, and they come to sit on this, like, gator pit ledge. And they're like still talking about how in love they are when all of a sudden a gator jumps out of the pit and it takes Maud, and it like looks like Maud's gonna die, and it turns out the gator's like a dragon because like it breathes fire. And then all of a sudden Emile wakes up and he's in the back of the theater because he runs the movies, and he like wakes up and he's like sad kind of that it was a dream because he does have a thing for Maud, but that he hasn't told her anything in real life. So he grabs his camera and goes outside, and we're introduced to the real Maud, who is the ticket booth girl for the theater. And he's kind of talking with Maud and makes plans to see her after the cinema. And as that's happening, Raoul, Emile's buddy, rolls up. And when Raoul introduces himself, I kind of saw him as obnoxious. I really gotta say I didn't like him, but his character did grow on me, because when we meet him, he's wearing this fur coat that's definitely not straw. And Raoul's like, hey, come on, Emile, let's go, help me deliver these bags of peat. And Emile's like, okay, so Emile and Raoul are off to deliver bags of peat, and we get a little buddy-to-buddy talk between Emile and Raoul on how easy it is to woo a girl for Raoul. And, you know, because Raoul can tell that Emile likes Maud, and Emile is like, it's not easy for guys like me to get women. And I haven't mentioned this yet because I watch... Forgive me. a little heartburn. I haven't watched. I haven't mentioned this yet because I've been watching a lot of like Game of Thrones and like Lord of Rings. So dwarfs are very I see them a lot. So when I see one, I'm not very like surprised by it. But Emil is a dwarf. So he's like, it's not easy for guys like me to get girls. And Raoul's like, oh man, he gives us this line where he's like, when Raoul's on the prowl, all the cats howl, and I'm like, bro, what the icky, icky. Anyways, Raoul comes to his this spot where he's dropping off some peat, and Emil walks off to the photography store to get a new camera, and we see Raoul messing with his car Catherine that actually we find out he invented. It runs on sunflower seed oil, and it has a bunch of gadgetry on the side of it that like he can like remotely open the doors and stuff like that. And he's like messing with it to show it off to the woman he's selling the peat to. And while he's doing that, we see Emil walking towards him, but all of a sudden his camera gets stolen by this thief, and the thief is running towards Catherine, and like the door opens and smacks the thief in the face, and like Emil gets his camera back, and everybody's like, yeah, go Raoul and Catherine. And then they get back in the car, and they're off to do their last delivery of peat, which they have to drive Catherine on this really janky dock. Now let me tell you something. I've never seen such a janky dock. I don't know how it held their car up, but it did. And they're delivering to the professor's house. Raoul is telling them. And when they get there, we see that the professor's house is this big greenhouse, I want to call it, with like, I don't know, it's really big though. And Raoul knocks on the door, and a little note is slid under the door that says, just open the door. So Raoul does, and Raoul opens the door, and we're introduced to a monkey named Charles, who offers his ID to us that tells us he's a botanist. Monkeys achieved more than I could ever. And, the monkey gives him another note that tells Raoul to just drop the peat off right inside the door and then go. And Raoul does initially, but then he's like, man, this would be awesome to film, wouldn't it, Emil? And him and Emil are like, yeah. So they start going through the professor's garden. And Charles is going crazy this whole time, like being like, hey, don't go through this, don't go through this, don't go through this. And they start like getting deeper into the professor's like house or garden or whatever, when they come to imagine a corner of a room ripped out of the room and just set in the middle of a garden. And it's like a little science lab in the middle of this garden, and it's got potions and like all kinds of like chemistry sets and stuff. And Raoul and Emil walk up to this and start playing with the potions. Well, Emil's really just like recording all of this, but Raoul is like messing with all these potions, and all of a sudden he finds one that makes sunflowers grow really big, or just like it'll make anything grow big, I think. But he throws one of the seeds that was covered in the potion in water, and the seed grows to a really big sunflower again. And since it's in water, it's not grounded by anything. It falls over, and all of the potions get knocked over, and two potions get mixed together that make this big fog, and the whole place just fills up with fog. And then all of a sudden, Emil is still recording while all this is happening, by the way. Emil looks over to see this monster. And Emil initially freaks out, thinking that it was Raoul who got turned into a monster, but then he hears Raoul freaking out, so he runs over to Raoul and is like, did you see that monster? And Raoul is like, no, I didn't, but we're gonna be late for the screening. So Raoul and Emil are like, well, let's just go then, and it'll be fine. And just as they're leaving, we see the monster jump out of the top of the ceiling, which is glass because it's a greenhouse. And we get like a few second shot of the creature just jumping from rooftop to rooftop, peeping through windows and like going through alleys. And then we cut to like this theater area where like it's like a dining slash theater area where we're introduced to the commissioner and his like chief of police side hand Pate. And they're like sitting in this diner, and we get a lovely song and our first introduction to the main reason I'm thirsting on TikTok, Lucille. We get a lovely song from our girl Lucille, which is our introduction to her, and the commissioner making creepy comments on her, and now he wants her. And then we cut to her backstage talking to, I think, her mother. I don't know if it's like the theater owner or the mother. I don't think they ever clarify that. But her mother figure is saying that she needs to marry, and she should marry the commissioner because the commissioner has his eye on her, and what better husband could you hope for than the commissioner who's planning to be the mayor? But she obviously doesn't want to. She wants to marry for love. And then we cut to the bug, who is in an alleyway, and he is like, it looks like robbing these people of their clothes. And I know that sounds weird, but this lady like broke her necklace and like the pearls rolled into this alleyway. So she and her husband went down there to pick him up, and the bug somehow got the guy's jacket, his like scarf, and his hat, and then they run away to the police and make a report of it, and the police are like, this man's crazy, whatever. And we cut to like a little area in the street outside of the theater where Lucille is sitting out there reading a note about there's a monster in Paris, and then she runs into Raoul, and we get like this little playful interaction that leads us to know that Raoul and the singer have known each other, that Raoul and Lucille have known each other for a long time. Sorry, I refer to her as the singer in my notes, which I am reading in the background, so forgive me. During this interaction between Lucille and Raoul, Lucille is like taunting Raoul, and she's like, if you ever get a medal for anything, you can come have the best seat in my theater with all the champagne you can drink and have front row seats to my show. And Raoul's like, I'm gonna cash you in on that one day. And then we cut to the commissioner and Pate. Hold up. We cut to the commissioner and Pate talking about getting this monster in Paris. And the commissioner's like, this is a good publicity for me, because if the people are scared, they need someone to protect them, and I can be that person. And he's like, okay, we should solve this case, Pate, but not too quickly. And Pate's like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna solve this case, I'm not gonna endanger the people for publicity. And he doesn't really say that out loud, but he definitely thinks it. He says that in his head. I just know it because he just kind of walks off grumbling. And we cut to Emil, who's in the theater watching his film from the professor's lab, and he sees that the monster was created by when the two potions came together. A flea off of Charles's back also collided with the potions, and that's how the monster was created. And Emil freaks out, so he goes and grabs Raoul and shows Raoul, and him and Raoul both freak out, and they're sitting there talking about what they're supposed to do when all of a sudden Pate comes out of nowhere, and Pate's like, you're gonna come to jail with me, that's what you're gonna do. And he even takes Charles with them. Like, poor Charles even goes to jail with them. What Charles gotta do with it? Anyways, so the commissioner is like, on lunch we cut to the lunch with Commissioner and Lucille, which is just creepy. The whole time the Commissioner is just saying basically innuendos of her already being his. And then Pate interrupts this lunch by saying he caught 3 suspects for the monster thing, and the Commissioner comes back there and he's like, what's going on? And Emil and Raul tell the Commissioner that the monster is a flea that they created, and the Commissioner's like, this is awesome. Thank you. You know what? And I don't want you to do anything about it. Just leave it to me. Here's 2 medals of honor. And Emil and Raul get medals of honor. And they don't go to jail. Everybody's let go. And Pate, this is the first time that Pate out loud says that this isn't right. And he gets really upset with the Commissioner, but the Commissioner's like, I know what's best for the people. I'm going to be mayor soon. And then Raul and Emil go off to, like, I don't know, do whatever. We just see them leaving the Commissioner's place, and then we cut to Lucille, who is leaving the theater when she runs into our flea guy. And at first, our flea character really scares her, so she runs inside and bars the door and just kind of leans up against it, when all of a sudden our flea guy starts singing. And our flea guy has a really beautiful voice, might I add. And Lucille's just kind of listening, and she's like, damn, that's a good voice if I've ever heard one. And so she goes out there and she listens to him singing about, like, his experiences ever since becoming this monster. And we find out that him peeping in those windows and, like, going through those alleys and that interaction where he took those people's clothes were all, like, accidents, so to speak. He didn't know how scary he was, and, like, the song is essentially about how sad he is that he scares everyone. And Lucille's like, you know what, come with me, come inside, let's dress you up. And, you know, the flea, by the way, she's given him a name, Falco. And she's, like, dressing up Falco when all of a sudden somebody comes and is like, hey, there's somebody here to see you, and it's Raul. And Lucille and Raul are, like, talking, and Raul's like, hey, I got that medal, where's my seat? So she gives him the seat reluctantly. And we get to see Lucille and Falco perform together. And we get an amazing song. I just want to say, every time I hear Raul and Lucille, or not Raul, every time I hear Falco and Lucille sing together, I'm paying attention. It's breathtaking.
Is she divine? Is it the wine? Listen, listen, listen. I don't know, so don't ask me why. That's how we are. Listen and I don't know, so don't ask me why. That's how we are. Listen and I feel alive when I'm beside. Listen.
Emil, Raul, and Lucille, after the show, are talking about what to do with Falco, and they want the Commissioner to help the monster, and they're talking about maybe, since the Commissioner's a nice guy, they'll help Falco get out of here. And then we cut to the Commissioner talking about how he's going to kill the flea by drowning it in front of everyone, so he looks like a hero. And then Pate shows up and is like, I found the bug. And so somehow Pate has found out that Lucille has Falco. And so the cops and everyone are on their way to Lucille's, like, theater room. And somehow Raul and Emil also know that the cops are on their way. So they rush off everyone's rushing off to Lucille's house at this moment, and Emil and Raul get there, and they're like, you gotta hide Falco, the Commissioner's about to be here. And so they hide Falco, and Lucille, like, goes to the door and tries to hold the Commissioner off, but he literally grabs her, and she's like, ow, this hurts, stop. And then he, like, shakes her and just sets her aside and, like, goes through her dressing room. And he doesn't find anything, obviously, which just makes him look like an idiot to Pate and everyone else. And, honestly, Lucille's a freaking boss because she handled it like one. Because after the commissioner finds nothing, he's like, I'm so sorry, my lady. I understand if you don't want to perform for me tomorrow anymore. And she's like, no, of course I'll still perform for you. You were putting the public safety before your own, you know, kind of in like a taunting way, I want to say. And so the commissioner leaves, and after that, the gang is like, we need a better way to conceal Falco. And then we cut to the next day where Lucy is performing for the commissioner in this, like, outside area. And we get, like, a staged killing of Falco. Like, while Lucille is performing, Falco appears and attacks her, and Raul runs up on stage and throws this antidote on Falco, or this fake antidote on Falco, where it makes it look like he turns back into a flea, and Raul pretends to squish him, but really Falco just went into this little, like, hatch under the stage that Lucille was on. And it looks like Falco is dead to the commissioner and everyone, but Pate somehow sees that Falco is just under this little ledge. And the commissioner whips out this gun, bro, and just starts shooting into the little area where Falco is under the stage. And, like, it's just crazy. Like, he just starts shooting, and so the gang grabs Falco and everyone, and they just start running through the town trying to get away. And we get this chase scene. The commissioner hops in a blimp that he makes Pate power by bicycling, because that's how it's powered. And then the gang gets in Catherine, and we get this chase scene between everyone until we come to a part where the commissioner attaches like, anchor, I want to say. I don't know what you call it. I think it's still called an anchor on a blimp. But he attaches this, like, anchor onto Catherine, and they run out of road, so now Catherine is hanging onto this blimp over water, and the commissioner's like, oh, perfect time to start shooting down at them. And he starts shooting down at them again, just trying to shoot anyone, really, it seems. And then he shoots the rope, and it looks like Catherine and everyone in there is going to fall into the water, but she lands on a boat. And she's not really sinking, she's kind of floating, but she's kind of sinking, and Raul is, like, using her, like, his, like, remote to, like, make Catherine paddle through the water on the boat, and they, like, paddle up to the bottom of the Eiffel Tower. And we cut to Maud, who is going to the Eiffel Tower because somehow she got a note from Emile that said to meet her at the Eiffel Tower. And, like, everyone's heading to the Eiffel Tower, and Maud's about to be caught up in the middle of it. When I saw that she was going up there, I was like, oh man, how did you... I don't know why they made it that Maud was going up there, but they did. It seemed really out of left park for me. But, the commissioner and everyone's heading, like, towards the top of the Eiffel Tower. The commissioner's still on the blimp, but at this point the gang is already, like, halfway up the Eiffel Tower. So the commissioner's like, well, this isn't going fast enough for me. So he literally just pops a hole with the gun in his blimp, which is for some reason filled with helium. I don't know if blimps are normally filled with helium, but now him and Pate are helium high and shooting guns. Pate's not shooting a gun, but the commissioner is. And they land on the Eiffel Tower, and the commissioner is just freaking running around with this gun and is just shooting around Raul and Lucille. And Lucille tries to stop him, but gets, like, thrown over the edge of the Eiffel Tower. And we, like, look over the edge and see that she's still hanging on. And then Raul tries to save her, but he gets thrown over the edge, too. And the commissioner starts shooting at them, but, like, it looks like they fall off, so he, like, walks away, and we cut to, Falco, who looks like he's turning back into a flea, I want to say. I don't know, he looks sickly, we'll say that for sure. And somehow Emil runs face to face with the commissioner, and he takes the gun from the commissioner, and Maud comes out of nowhere and tries to intervene, but the commissioner, like, grabs Maud by her hand and, like, just holds her over the edge of the Eiffel Tower and makes Emil give him the gun back. And Emil, like, shines this bright light in the commissioner's eyes, and the commissioner, like, falls a few levels low on the tower, and it kind of looks like he died. And Raoul saves. We cut to Raoul and Lucille, who are still hanging over the edge of the Eiffel Tower, just on a lower level now. And we see that Raoul had one of those, like, seeds that had been covered in that formula, and he drops it in the water, and just as Lucille and Raoul's, like, hand slip, the sunflower pops up and it saves them, and they, like, hop onto a lower level of the Eiffel Tower again. And we see that Catherine actually sinks, and Raoul cries, and freaking, like, it all looks like everyone's gonna be okay, and, like, all of a sudden, the commissioner is not dead, and he shoots Raoul, and it looks like he killed the monster, and then all of a sudden, Pate comes out of nowhere, and is like, Commissioner, you're arrested for murdering Falco. I don't know how he knew Falco's name, but he knew Falco's name. So he arrests the commissioner for trying to murder the flea, and the commissioner's, like, crazy at this point. Like, he just looks disheveled, and like, everyone's crying over Falco being dead, and Pate gives us this speech over how that Falco was more of a person than the commissioner ever could be. And then, like, we cut to Lucille on stage being really sad, and, like, she's gonna sing, but, like, she's on stage, like, she's supposed to be singing, but she just can't find it in her heart, and Raoul's, like, trying to comfort her from backstage, but, like, it's just not working, and all of a sudden she hears Falco singing in, like, her ear. And we see that Falco is actually a tiny flea again, which is what I thought when I saw him getting sick earlier, is that he was, like, just turning back into a regular flea. And we get, like, this sexy song, like, about getting a kiss from our lover. And the whole gang is, like, on stage singing, and sorry. And it looks like the movie's gonna end, but then we get, like, a little bit of Lucille and Raoul's past, and we see that they've known each other since the first grade, and Raoul confesses his love to Lucille after this flashback, and Lucille's like, I love you too, and they admit they've loved each other since they were kids, and we get a kiss scene, and that is where the movie ends. Now, before I give you guys my opinion, I do really want to say I hope this scripting was better than the last one. I'm still working really hard on my scripts, but okay, now for my opinion. Now, this was a good movie for the most part, but I want to say that the interactions between characters weren't very human. Like, sometimes you would find, like, Maud and Rao and Emil saying their names to each other when they were like talking to each other, which just really threw me off. And it felt awkward listening to them talk sometimes. And I also wanted to comment that the animation at first was really hard to watch, but it actually kind of grew on me as I watched it. By the end of the movie, I want to say that I actually really liked the animation, and it was really different compared to some other 3D animated movies I've seen. It looked lovely and smooth, and overall, I want to say this has to be on the more nostalgic side of movies for me than the good side of movies. I don't know if I'd recommend watching it unless you like want a movie to go to sleep to, and that's not necessarily bad. I had a hard time watching this and staying awake. The pacing was weird, and I was confused a lot, and maybe it's because I watched this in, the English translation. I don't know if this, came out in America initially, but things just seemed really weird. You could watch it if you wanted, but for me, this is going to be on the nostalgic side than the good movie. That being said, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. I hope you like all the effort I'm putting in and how far I'm trying to come along. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. I post a video every week. And until next video, I'll see you peeps next time.